Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs of society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers, or you sycophants, or you stinkos, all you hateful people who celebrate the president and still honor America. You're always welcome here. This place is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, and joining me as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada, and that is Sharron Angle. Sharron, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Pleasure to be here. And of course, I want to talk about last week. We had a show, actually, last week. It was a great show. In fact, we'll put it up as one of the best without our little segment in there that got bleeped, and they bleeped the whole show. It wasn't just bleep the hydroxychloroquine film that went viral with the doctors. We put 10 minutes of their testimony in there.
Well, you got to tell us, Sharron, who bleeped us?
Oh, the doctors of social media. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, YouTube, Google, Twitter. Anybody that thinks they're a better doctor than the doctors that were in that clip, they said, nope, you can't have that out there. And so they totally took our show off. We were up for about 12 hours. So I guess this is a little plug. If you want to watch Conservative Commandos in its entirety, get in there in the first 12 hours because we show it on TV. We put it up on our website, but after they've trolled us, we might not be there any longer. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to follow up on that story because one of the doctors said we do have a cure. She's had 350 patients that she has treated for COVID with hydroxychloroquine plus the azithromycin and zinc, and they've all recovered. Not one fatality. Wow. So the Henry Ford Health System issued an open letter about a study it published in July that found hydroxychloroquine cut death rate by 50% in certain sick patients hospitalized by COVID-19. They further said, in this political climate that has persisted, it has made any objective discussion about this drug impossible. We know that firsthand. They bleeped us because we wanted to have just the other side, just a little discussion, please. And they said, like all observational research, these studies are out there, and Dr. Fauci comes back. This is what Dr. Fauci says. He says that it's flawed. The Henry Ford study is flawed, and he said that it was confounded by a number of issues, but the main one was that they've been using hydroxychloroquine with corticosteroids. Hello, none of those doctors said they were using it alone. They said they were putting in other medications with it. So how does that confound the study? I am more and more upset with Dr. Fauci with each day that passes, because if we're not towing his party line, his deep state party line, then we get bleeped. We can't exist on the air, according to Dr. Fauci or his other doctor sidekicks, Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, Sharron, what gets me about this Fauci guy, he is proven to be an absolute hypocrite when he talks about us and we must wear masks. We've got pictures of him. We've got pictures of him at a Washington Nationals baseball game, walking through the stands with his mask below his nose, and with him totally without a mask. And he's the guy that's saying we must mask up, or no, you must mask up, is what he's saying. But those rules don't pertain to Fauci himself. I blame Donald Trump for this guy because before Donald Trump brought him up in those press conferences, you never knew about this guy. I wish this guy would crawl back into the stinking hole he came from.
Well, you know what was so funny about that ball game was if he'd worn the mask, he probably would have had a good excuse for such a bad throw. You know, I had to throw out an opening pitch at the area at the 51s game in Las Vegas when I was running for Congress, and I practiced and practiced so I could get it across the plate to the catcher's mitt. Might not have been a strike, but at least I could get it from the pitcher's mouth to the catcher's mitt. And that guy, he needed a good excuse that day because he can't throw a ball. He throws worse than a girl.
Maybe he could use that mask as a slingshot, Sharron.
Maybe because I was a girl throwing and he threw worse than me. So I can say that he threw worse than a girl. But you're right. You're right. President Trump should have never brought that guy forward, nor the Scarf Lady. We have suffered and suffered and suffered because of Dr. Fauci and, as you said, and his hypocrisy.
And now he's you never knew who knew of this guy. Who knew of this guy before this? As I said, crawl back in your hole. Crawl back in your hole, Fauci.
Do it. Well, our friend Harry Reid is back in the news, and I
thought he was dead. Did he die?
No, he's still kicking, and he's kicking against President Trump. We have a special session going on. We have a special session going on here in Nevada, and there were several areas that they wanted to explore. The first area was raising taxes. Surprise, surprise, on the miners, and because they can't raise their taxes constitutionally, it will take a vote of the people to make it constitutional for them to raise the mining tax. So there was that issue. We'll get to vote on it in an election here pretty soon. The second issue was making it so that the casinos have no liability when people don't wear masks in their establishments and accidentally catch COVID-19, or do wear masks and catch COVID-19, or don't social distance. Anyway, the casinos cannot be held responsible. But it's not just every business in Nevada that cannot be held responsible. Some of them are liable if you catch
Sharron,
the disease in their establishment. It just all depends on what your business is. You get a pass on the lawsuit.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. They want to tax the miners, but give the casinos a big pass. I bet there's more casino money running around in Nevada than there is the miners' money, right, Sharron?
I would say so. You know,
is that the way to look at it?
When we passed the law in the 1930s during the Depression, that's when gambling became legal in Nevada, and they were supposed to pay 100%. They're never going to be any. It was like the oil deal in Alaska. Casinos were supposed to be our oil deal. They pay all the taxes. They pay for all the government. The citizens are not taxed if we let them have legal gaming. Every year in the legislature, so we have a biennial cycle. So every 2 years when the legislature meets, they cut the casinos another break. And we're down to, from that 100%, we're down to about 33% now. So, their lobby is just the most powerful lobby, and so now they're getting out of liability. But the third issue that they took up in our legislature is mail-in ballots for the November 3rd election. And they passed this, and Donald Trump said, if you pass this, he expected he would drop a lawsuit on Nevada. So this was the exact quote. The general, it's mostly mail-in general ballots, general election ballots. And on Monday, they passed this. That was yesterday. On Tuesday, today, he's supposed to drop a lawsuit. He hasn't done it yet, but I expect he will. He says that nobody's ever seen anything like this. It's a disgrace. I couldn't agree more. He also calls our governor a clubhouse governor. I thought that was pretty good. But Harry Reid comes out of wherever he's crawled in, and he says he issued a scathing statement against the president on Monday, saying he was proud of Nevada Democrat legislative leaders, saying Trump has no integrity and no scruples. That's why he's lying about our state leaders and threatening a bogus lawsuit simply because Democrats made it easier for people to vote. His desperate tweets are the clearest sign he knows he's going to lose in November. Well, I just have to say, we found with our election integrity project that there are 42,000, give or take a few votes, voters, illegitimate voters in Nevada. From 2010 and prior. So not for the last 10 years, but for 2010 and prior. And they're still voting in elections now. In 2020, some of them voted in the primary. And Harry Reid beat me by 41,424 votes. I think that is a pretty clear indicator that the guy who has no integrity and no scruples shouldn't be talking. Shouldn't be talking at all here.
Well, Sharron, you want me to say this again? To end this stupid idea of mail-in ballots and voter fraud, and you can't have voter ID. All right, Republicans need to get as devious as the Democrats. They need to get better at voter fraud, and then the Democrats will want to clean this mess up. That's the only thing, Sharron. I know you hate me saying this. But I really do say Republicans need to fight fire with fire. With that, Sharron, we need to take a break. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Actually, we'll be talking about both those amendments in today's show. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And the hallmark of our show being guests. Sharron, we've got 3 great guests joining us once again today.
Yes, we do. And our Second Amendment guest is up first. We have Dave Workman, who is an award-winning career journalist and senior editor at thegunmag.com. He is also the communications director for the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. And he's going to be talking to us about anti-gun businesses. They've got a list of over 200 now, and they're saying don't feed these gun prohibitionists. Our second guest is our First Amendment guest, Erin Hawley, who is a senior legal fellow at the Independent Women's Law Center. She's written an article, "There Are No Exceptions to the First Amendment, Even in a Pandemic." And of course, she calls out my clubhouse governor, Mr. Sisolak, for his impartial, not his partial rules. The ones that say casinos can have more people attending their services than the churches can. And this has gone all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. So it'll be interesting to hear what Erin has to say about that. And our final guest is Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. He's the executive director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. He's written 2 articles, Beyond Hiroshima and 75 Years of Nuclear Terror, talking about the anniversary coming up on August the 6th of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and why we study history, because there's a history repeating itself, perhaps right in the streets of the United States.
All right. Well, Sharron, Erin Hawley's going to be joining us. You mentioned her article, "There's No Exceptions to the First Amendment, Even in a Pandemic." Sharron, everybody is using this pandemic as an excuse for more rules, more regulations, and there's some new COVID-19, or as I say, Chinese virus regulations out there.
Well, there are in my state. This is part of our governor. He just can't get enough power. He just grabs a hold of more and more as he moves forward. And his latest thing is that he wants to make us not just wear masks, not just have social distancing, but he wants to and not just give passes to those businesses who are acting in good faith. Some businesses, not all, of course. Mm-hmm. He has his favorites, but he also wants to make it a tiered thing. So depending on how many people you get tested, depending on how many people who are tested, like if you don't give any tests, then that means you probably have it, but you're just not being scrutinizing enough, and so we might need to close down your businesses. If you are giving tests and too many people test positive, that may mean that you're not scrutinizing enough, and we may need to close down your businesses. And then he moves on into his third tier, which is actual cases and deaths, of course, then,
Sharon,
then we've got to close down your businesses. So it's all about
I gotta ask. Sorry to interrupt. I gotta ask. Is he going to close down the casinos? Is the casinos on that hit list of businesses he's going to shut down?
Well, it just depends on the business, of course. If the business...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. If the business hasn't shown any way that they have increased the COVID-19 or the China virus pandemic, then they get to stay open. It's the ones that haven't. That haven't proven their good citizenship, their good faith, I guess.
Right. Sharron, I got a little bit of good news I want to get in real quick. On new voter registration in key states, Trump is blowing Biden out of the water, while polls continue to show President Trump behind Biden in key swing states. New voter registration numbers are telling a very different story. According to Axios, the RNC continues to register more voters than the Democrat Party in places where it matters most, in particular in Pennsylvania and in Florida. Republicans have lessened the margin by 133,000 registered voters in Pennsylvania and 87,000 voters in Florida. Republicans have also chipped away at Democratic advantages in toss states, North Carolina getting a net 216,000 voters since Election Day of 2016. Now, Sharon, we talk a lot about polls, and everybody talks about polls. Who can believe them? I don't know, but these are real numbers. These are real numbers that I think is showing that President Trump has a very good chance of being reelected, especially when you're talking about the swing states like in Pennsylvania and Florida, North Carolina. He's got to have those states to win.
Yes, he does. I'm glad to hear that. We've had guests on talking about these polls, and they said, really, only Rasmussen is one that you can count on, because when you look at the back tabs in all of these polls, they are actually polling more Democrats than any other parties, and they are actually voting people that are not likely to vote. Well, these new registrations kind of tell a different story, that people who are registering are probably likely to vote. That's probably why they registered to vote.
I hope so. Well, Sharon, we got to take a break and get our first guest on, and you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Dave Workman. He's a career journalist and the senior editor at gunmag.com, talking about Gun Group expands list of anti-gun businesses. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our first guest.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day, and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for a rebroadcast, please check out our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. We have rebroadcast of our TV show there, as well as our radio show, and a lot of other terrific articles and information. And with that, Sharron, we do have our first guest with us, and you have the honor of that introduction.
Well, it's always an honor to introduce our longtime friend, Dave Workman, who is an award-winning career journalist and senior editor of the gunmag.com, formerly Gunweek. He also writes for Liberty Park Press, Conservative Firing Line, and several firearms periodicals. He's also the communications director for the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. He has authored op-ed pieces in several major newspapers, including the Chicago Times, Seattle Times, and Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He's also co-authored 7 books with Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation. Dave's beat is firearms from politics to the outdoors, and he's widely considered an authority on firearms, concealed carry, and gun politics. Dave, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, it's always nice to join you guys. Every once in a while, I know that you do need adult supervision, so it's...
It was?
Well, today we're really going to talk about those who need adult supervision. It seems like you have a pretty interesting list going there at Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, and it's a list of businesses, and this really flabbergasted me actually. A list of businesses who have banned firearms on their premises. So they're a gun control group in a time when protesters are out there and people are having to defend their businesses. What's going on here, Dave?
Well, I tell you, if I could explain that, I'd be sitting on a beach someplace sending you postcards. Frankly, I don't know. We put this list together not as an effort to boycott anybody, but to advise gun owners, our members, and just gun owners at large, where they might want to reconsider spending some of their money. There are some interesting business names on that list, and I think that as time goes on, we might see at least some of those guys change their tune a little bit, because we live in pretty tough times right now. A lot of people have lost their jobs because of this COVID virus thing, the shutdowns, and the economy is trying to recover from the train wreck that was handed to us. So telling people that, they're law-abiding citizens, by the way, who are licensed to carry, for example, that we don't want your business or we don't want you in here, that's a bad thing. But when some of these companies we know have donated to the gun prohibition movement, that's a bad thing, because what they're doing is they're saying, well, your rights aren't as important as somebody else's rights, and we're just not going to put up with that. And frankly, that's where this is going. They just added, I think, 4 new names to the list just the other day. And Alan Gottlieb, who's the chairman of the Citizens Committee, told me, he said, we've got room to expand. So all you have to do is just add a name to the list. And hopefully, maybe, this might just throw a shot across somebody's bow and make them rethink some of their priorities, business-wise, which, that'd be a good thing. And, we're not trying to tell people that they can't have personal opinions other than the opinions that we have, but, with every opinion, there is going to be a consequence if you're in business. So that's really where this is all coming from.
And I think that we're actually reaping some of those consequences now. It seems like with COVID and now with these protests, all of our constitutional rights are under fire. And I would think that anyone considering excluding any one of those Bill of Rights, constitutional rights especially, should rethink their situation. But you've got some interesting names on this list. Costco, Burger King. Fill in the list for me, Dave.
Well, I'm glad you started with Costco, because actually, as we speak, I'm writing about what happened over there this past Sunday morning. Some bad guys drove a truck through the door of the Costco warehouse store in Issaquah, Washington, jumped out, fired some shots with guns, and stole a bunch of jewelry. And now this happened before the store opened up for business, but I think it underscores the fallacy of trying to create a gun-free zone. They don't want people to be carrying firearms inside the store, even if they're licensed to carry. And I personally know that that gets ignored by a lot of gun owners who have Costco memberships, but because I've had people tell me this. And so when this happened, I thought, geez, isn't that ironic? Here's a store that doesn't allow guns, and they just got invaded literally by a bunch of bad guys who fired shots and stole a bunch of, I presume, very expensive jewelry, and took off. They ignored the gun prohibition, and that's going to cost Costco at some point. Some of these other businesses, Burger King you mentioned. I know that there are some theaters on that list, various restaurants and restaurant chains. I think that this has the opportunity to turn into kind of a perfect storm of bad publicity for some of these guys.
Well, and I would think that I kind of differ with you. I don't think that those guys that invaded Costco were ignoring the gun ban at all. They were looking for somebody that had banned guns, because that's a safe zone, right? You go in there, you're not so apt to get shot. We used to do prison ministry. There was a guy there that held up beauty shops, and the reason he did it is because he said, nobody's armed there. They don't fight back. They just hand over their purses, and that's the end of it. And I thought, wow, this advertising, we don't want your guns in our store, is just telling the bad guys this is a good place for you, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot to that. In fact, what you say makes a lot of sense. No bad guy worth his salt wants to go into an area where one of his victims might shoot him. They like to be in a risk-free working environment. So undoubtedly, they pick targets where they don't think they're going to get any resistance at all. It hasn't always worked out that way. Alan Gottlieb and I wrote a book here about 2 years ago on right to carry, and we discussed several incidents in which there were bad guys who had a fatal and final confrontation with somebody that they never expected to be armed. One of my favorite stories has to do with a very popular restaurant down in Oklahoma City, where some guy walked into the restaurant, started capping off a bunch of rounds. He came out and he encountered two individual armed citizens who didn't know each other. They both grabbed their guns when this was going on, and they shot and killed this guy. Mm-hmm. And the police called them heroes.
Well, and rightly so, I think. Some of these were kind of surprising to me. Dick's Sporting Goods. Really? They sell guns, don't they?
Not anymore.
Okay.
You might recall that Dick's was made a lot of publicity about 2-3 years ago when they announced that they would no longer be selling AR-15 rifles after that high school shooting down in Florida. I think they lost sight of the fact that there are millions of those guns out there. Some of them were purchased by customers of Dick's. Those people have never harmed a soul that I know of. And yet Dick's tried to be politically correct, and they got out of the gun business, or at least tried to get out of the gun business. Don't sell ammunition. And the gun owners, the Second Amendment activists, they really did go on a boycott Dick's, and that made social media just fire right up for weeks afterwards. And so I think it's important to remind people that there are stores that have done this, that they've gone the extra mile to publicly distance themselves from the Second Amendment and from sportsmen and gun owners, and there's a price to pay for that.
There is. Well, we need to take a break now. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and we'll be right back. I'm Sharron Angle, here with my co-host, Rick Trader. And we've been talking with Dave Workman, who is the, I'm going to get your title right, Communications Director for Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. We've been talking about their list, the list of 200 businesses who are advertising to the bad guys. No problems here. Come on in. We'll be right back.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. I want to give a shout out to folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, and also seen on the AUN television network. Dave Workman is our guest. He is the senior editor of thegunmag.com, formerly Gun Week. He's also the communications director for the Citizens Committee Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. And we're discussing 4 high-profile names, businesses, that have been added to their list. Don't feed the prohibitionist list. Dave, thank you for holding through that break. Dave, it seems to me very ironic that these businesses, I don't care how big they are, I don't care how small they are, but they think that they are big enough to circumvent the Second Amendment. And, you know, where is it that they don't understand what the Constitution says about the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed?
Well, I think we have to keep in mind a couple of things. First, the Constitution is a limit on government. It's not a limit on what private businesses can do. You know, they can do whatever they want to. They can They can close their doors to whomever they want to. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Now it's no mask, no service. But if you're wearing a gun, no service. There was a story recently in Seattle, Washington, up in the so-called chop zone, that an ice cream chain up there prohibited anybody with a firearm, including police officers, to come into their shops. They didn't want any guns in there. Now, a lot of people misconstrued that as an anti-cop thing, but I pegged it in print as an anti-gun thing. I wrote a story about it at Ammo Land, and a lot of people understood what I was talking about. There is I think, a fear across the land. I don't know where this got started, but people are afraid of firearms for no reasonable good reason at all. I think that they've been, I don't know, coaxed or educated, or whatever term you want to use, to dislike firearms. They see guns used by bad guys in TV dramas. They see guns misused by real bad guys in places like Chicago and New York. It's a situation where they've gotten on one side of the argument. Their parents may not like guns, and so they've grown up in an environment where they've actually been indoctrinated to dislike firearms and anybody who owns one. I've lost some friends over that over the years, people I thought that I was getting along with, but when they suddenly learned, hey, you've got guns, like, I don't want to see you anymore. Well, okay, tough luck.
How's their health, Dave?
Well,
how's their health since then? I hope they haven't been a victim of a crime or anything.
Well, I tell you, a conservative, or a liberal is a conservative who hasn't been mugged yet. And I think that when you get right down to it, a lot of people have been buying guns over the past few months. A lot of them are brand new first-time gun buyers. They've never owned a gun before. They just decided, well, it's time. Things have changed, and maybe my opinions have changed. And we're going to see how that works out in November.
Yeah.
So, we do live in very interesting and colorful times, and I think that the notion that you can keep bad guys out of your business by just putting a sign on the door is pretty silly.
Well, Dave, let's talk about that aspect of thing. You mentioned to Sharron about the Costco's. All right, bunch of bad guys drove in through the door of a Costco's, fired off a bunch of rounds, left with a bunch of jewelry. And we've seen these soft targets, these gun-free zones become targets, schools, shopping malls, whatever. But I would like to know, Dave, and maybe you can help me out here before I start doing a bunch of Googling. How often is a gun store robbed?
I've never heard of that.
I mean, stupid question, but how often is a gun store robbed, or a Cabela's robbed, or a place that has firearms readily available for sale? I mean,
well, I can tell you of one case that I know of personally, because it happened just south of us, about 15 miles, and this was some 20 plus years ago. I actually had talked to the kid who was involved in this. There was a gun store down in the Renton Highlands, which is south of Seattle. A guy walked in to that store one morning, past a parked county sheriff's vehicle, into the gun store. He pulls a gun, and he declares this is a robbery. And I guess, if I recall correctly, he fired a couple of rounds. Well, naturally, there was an armed sheriff's deputy in there. The clerk was armed with at the time, it was a brand new Colt 10 millimeter Delta Elite semi-automatic pistol, and they shot this guy.
That really sounds like a suicide by cop attempt.
Well, it's suicide by something, but
yeah,
there were several patrons in there, and from what I understand, 2 or 3 of them drew their guns, but they couldn't get a clear shot at the guy. If you're going to rob someplace, don't try to rob a place where everybody else is packing a firearm. It's not going to end well.
Dave, and the same note, we're talking about these businesses who don't want anybody armed to come in their stores. Are there stores out there who invite armed people in because they know that they are no longer a soft target?
Well, I've seen signs, particularly on doors of gun stores, where they say armed citizens are welcome. You know, if you have to draw your gun, please shoot accurately and
right.
Do it judiciously. But you know, in all seriousness, I think that places that invite armed citizens and they make it known that people are in there who are armed, they don't get bothered too often.
Right.
You know, it's like a school, for example, that allows armed teachers, that posts a sign out in front of the school, hey, you know, the staff in here is armed, and we will shoot you if you try to harm the kids. You don't see any school shootings at places like that. You don't see a robbery attempt at a gun show.
Right.
Everybody in there's got a gun, and you're typically talking to about 3,000 or 4,000 people. So
Dave, we only got about another minute, and I really, you know, I've been talking about a lot of silly things here. That's my job. You know, I got serious-minded people like Sharron Angle to do the serious stuff. I do the silly stuff and have fun. But let's talk for a minute, and we only have about another minute left, about the economic people who are gun owners.
Well, I think that gun ownership crosses the whole spectrum of the American public. School teachers, doctors, police officers, judges, housewives, mechanics, businessmen, bankers, and all kinds of doctors are in there. My family doctor, before he retired, he was a member of my gun club. And they contribute a great deal to the economy. So to post your business off limits to those people is really cutting your own throat at the bottom line, because that's income that's going somewhere else that could be going into your till, could be going into your bank account, could be helping you hire another person or you know, fix up your business or improve your bottom line. And I don't think the people who are pushing this sort of thing have thought that through.
Well, you know, Dave, I believe that we conservatives need to use our economic power just the same as we use our voices and our votes. And Panera Bread's going to miss me for a while. Dave Workman, Communications Director for the Citizens Committee the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. Also the senior editor for gunmag.com. We want to thank you so much for joining us. Dave, please tell our audience how they could keep up with what you do, what you write, and the books you sell.
Well, look for me at Liberty Park Press, at thegunmag.com, at Conservative Firing Line, at AmmoLand News. You can find all of these on Google. Look for me at American Handgunner Online. I do a column there every week called Insider Online. I write a monthly column in the print edition of Guns Magazine on Second Amendment defense. And I also write for Northwest Sportsman, and from what I understand, American Shooting Journal is going to pick up my stuff too. So I'm kind of all over the place, which means I rarely sleep. But I'm always...
Well, you know, Dave, I always say, if you need something done, ask a busy person to do it. You know, busy people know how to get things done.
Well, that's pretty kind of you.
Dave Workman, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care. God bless.
You too.
You are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Erin Hawley. She's the senior legal fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, and we're going to be talking about there are no exceptions to the First Amendment, even in a pandemic. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and zero deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And once again, as a reminder for rebroadcast of our radio show or TV show, check out our website, CCRshow.com. That's CCRshow.com. And be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Sharron Engel, we do have another guest for you to introduce. Now, as you do with all our guests, please make her feel welcome.
Well, it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce Erin Hawley, who is a senior legal fellow at Independent Women's Law Center. She previously served as an associate professor of law at the University of Missouri, where she taught constitutional litigation, federal income tax law, tax policy, and agricultural law. Her scholarship focused primarily on the federal courts, and she's been published in numerous top journals. She also worked at the Department of Justice as counsel to Attorney General Michael McCoskey and she is a former clerk to Chief Justice John Roberts of the Supreme Court of the United States. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Erin Hawley.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you've written an article, There Are No Exceptions to the First Amendment, even in a pandemic. And sadly, I'm going to read one of your last sentences in this article. But there is no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's Palace over Calvary Chapel, except my world. This is my state. This is exactly where this is happening. And sadly, we were excited, actually, when the Calvary Chapel stood up and lawyered up and said, we're not going to stand for this, and took this all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. But, wow, were we disappointed. Could you kind of outline the case? You're the legal expert. You tell me this case, and then we'll talk a bit about how it was decided.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as the quote you read suggests, and that was actually from Justice Gorsuch, and he said that there should be no world in which Caesar's Palace is preferenced over churches. But that really does explain this case. And what happened in Nevada is that the governor issued an order that limited church attendance to 50 people. Now, that might seem bad in and of itself. But the really amazing thing is that the order treats casinos much more favorably. So if you are Caesar's Palace or another large casino, you are able to admit up to 50% of your capacity. And as for you and those of you in Nevada know, that can be thousands of people. So if you are a church, you are limited to 50 people total. If you're Caesar's Palace, you can let in thousands. And this exception to the 50 people requirement doesn't only apply to churches. It also applies to bars, to bowling alleys. There's this really crazy state guidance that actually allows groups of 50 people to sit together in a bowling alley. And meanwhile, down the street at your neighborhood church or synagogue or mosque, you can only allow 50 people in the door. So that this makes no sense. It should not be upheld under First Amendment law, as we can talk about. But here you have an order by the governor that clearly distinguishes and, in my opinion, discriminates against religious services.
Well, in our view, too. And, of course, there are many churches in Nevada that have a capacity of over 50. And we would welcome the 50% rule that's applied to everybody else. If you're running 50% of your capacity, that's a whole different thing than just 50 people. And even those seem very arbitrary. We're getting very, very tired here in Nevada of our arbitrary governor. But what was the most shocking, I think, was that there were 3 votes in opposition to, in support of Nevada's Calvary Chapel. It said, yes, they're right. This is a First Amendment infringement, discrimination. They were Justice Alito, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch. Now, I noticed in your bio that you worked for John Roberts. Where was he?
So unfortunately, I think on the wrong side of this one. And there were actually 4 votes in favor of granting the preliminary injunction. So the legal posture of the case is that this Calvary Chapel Church wanted to admit 90 people, which was 50% of their fire code. And they had all sorts of safety measures in place. They had dedicated entrance aisles, dedicated exit aisles. They were going to clean, sanitize between services. They weren't going to pass communion or anything of that nature. So they had all these safety precautions in place. So they filed in the district court in Nevada. It went up to the Ninth Circuit, and then ultimately, as you said, to the Supreme Court. And basically, they were just asking to be able to open their doors under the same rules as casinos, bars, and gyms, and bowling alleys. And for those of us that are familiar with First Amendment law, we thought they would win. I thought it was a slam dunk. And interestingly, even people who are not necessarily in the same political camp thought this was a good case for churches and mosques and synagogues because there was such a stark difference between the treatment of these religious services and other groups. And so, as you said, there were 3 separate dissents authored, and that's pretty unusual. When a court denies a preliminary injunction, there might be one dissent. Sometimes there's no dissents and just a no vote. But I think, as you said, highlighting those 3 dissents from Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Justice Alito, that each of these justices felt very strongly that the court should have granted the injunction because if the First Amendment means anything at all, it means that a state cannot discriminate against the religious, which it appears that Nevada is blatantly doing here.
Well, we are one of those, we call ourselves a mission state because we're less than 10% churched. I mean, that's everybody that even has an inkling about God. So we say if you're sending missionaries, send them to Nevada. You don't have to learn the language. So I guess that they take that seriously, especially our governor, in his thinking about places of worship are more COVID friendly, I guess, than any place else in the state. But talk about Justice Roberts. You interned under him. Where was his thinking on this? How did he make such a, I feel, erroneous decision?
So I can't speak to his particular thinking in this case. But one thing that does give us reason for hope is the posture of this case. So it is up on an application for a preliminary injunction. And that's what's known as extraordinary relief in sort of the legal system. So it's not very often that courts will grant this sort of injunction. I think they should have in this case, but it is an extraordinary remedy. So Calvary Chapel and churches like them still have every chance of prevailing on the merits below. Now, they don't get to open up their doors in the meantime, which I think is an irreparable injury. But there is a chance for them still to prevail. And so I hope that if it goes to the court the second time around, that the chief will be, in my opinion, on the right side that time around.
So we're not out of chances. That was actually the best news of your article, was that we do get an opportunity to go one more time to the Supreme Court and have our case heard. So that we can open our doors. And you're right, it is irreparable damage. People are not attending church basically because they're afraid, but also because of this injunction. You know, nobody wants to go to church and have the deacon say, well, so sorry, we've reached our 50. You'll have to sit on the lawn. Or actually, some churches are saying, we will sit on the lawn. We can go outside and have more than 50, so let's do that. As long as the weather holds, that's what we're doing here in northern Nevada. But we have to go to a break.
Sharron, before you go to the break, I did want to ask you a question. You said people are afraid to go to churches. Are they afraid to go to casinos? Are they going to the casinos and you know, Nevada's known for the brothels, or you know, how's the business out there? I mean, are they going to the casinos? Are they going to restaurants? Are they going to other places that are allowed to have bowling alleys that are allowed to have 50%
you know, we're a culture within an interesting culture. Those that are believers don't believe that they have any business in a casino, a brothel, a bar. You know, those are kind of places that you wouldn't frequent anyway. So not out of fear, it's just out of respect for your Lord. He says, you know, don't be entertaining sin 6 days a week while you go to church on the 7th. So no, they aren't afraid.
You gotta rest one day.
Yeah. So there is that in Nevada. We do believers are believers just like they are every place else. We don't have a different compartment for our vices, I guess.
All right.
But we are going to go to a break now. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, NetTalk America, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Sharron Angle here with my co-host Rick Trader, and we've been talking to our guest, Erin Hawley, about her article, There Are No Exceptions to the First Amendment, Even in a Pandemic. We'll be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I should know that by now. I should also know I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Engel. And I want to give a shout out to folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California. Also seen on the AUN television network in San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, Santa Rosa, Redding, Chico, Sacramento, and Napa Valley. Our guest this segment is Erin Hawley. She's a senior legal fellow at the Independent Women's Law Center, and we're discussing an article that she wrote. There are no exceptions to the First Amendment, even in a pandemic. Erin, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time. Erin, I don't want to beat a dead horse because I know Sharron asked you twice about John Roberts, but usually do justices issue independent feelings about a case?
So it really depends on the case. So on the typical merits decision, you'll have an opinion, and it has to get 5 votes to be the majority. And then often you will have a dissent. One of the sort of little known facts about the Supreme Court is that the vast bulk of cases are actually decided by a majority of 7 or greater, 7-2 or greater. So in a lot of cases, you have widespread agreement. On a lot of cases that we hear about, the cases are more closely divided. So a justice is always entitled to express their own opinion in either dissent or concurrence. And they do so more frequently these days than in the past. If you go all the way back to Chief Justice Marshall and his court, the court used to issue seriatim opinions, so everyone spoke. Marshall really didn't like that. He wanted the court to speak with one voice and to have one opinion. And in present day, you'll probably get maybe 20% or so of the cases that have 2, 3, or even 4 opinions. But it really varies depending on the case.
The title of your article, There Are No Exceptions to the First Amendment, Even in a Pandemic. And Erin, you pointed out a ruling in the past. Around the time of the Civil War, at the height of the Civil War, the Supreme Court held the Constitution may not be modified in times of crisis. Hello, that was during the Civil War. I would call that at a time of crisis. We're in a time of crisis, be it man-made or not. But where's the disconnect?
I think that's right. And if you look at the words, I really like that case because it says that our founding charter, the Constitution, applies at all times and under all circumstances. And an issue in that case was whether the right to habeas corpus, the right to be released from prison when there were not valid grounds to hold you, could be waived. And the court said no, even though it involved events from the height of the Civil War. The court, as you said, that the Constitution exists in all times and in all circumstances. And that certainly applies today in the coronavirus pandemic. And it's a reason I think that the Supreme Court should have given the First Amendment its full due and not allowed discrimination against churches to continue in Nevada.
All right. Erin, I want to ask you about another article you wrote that also is appearing on the Independent Women's Forum. President Trump should reject federal land grabs. And in here you talk about the Great Outdoors Act. Erin, Hawley, what do you got against the Great Outdoors? I mean, it's the Great Outdoors. It's great and everybody enjoys it. What's your problem with it?
My problem with it is that the federal government owns too much of it. If you look at the area of land in Nevada, for example, the vast bulk of the state is owned by the federal government. If you look at land west of the Mississippi, a lot of that land is owned by the federal government. And the numbers are truly astounding. And while I fully support our national parks, we love going there with our kiddos. I actually grew up on a ranch. I was an hour from the nearest grocery store. So I love being in nature and being in that sort of environment. But I believe that the federal government has enough land. And the problem with this act is that it gives the federal government some $300 million to buy land every single year. And it's mandatory. Congress doesn't get to decide. An administrative agency is going to buy up more of our property every single year under this act.
What's wrong with that? I mean, Sharron Angle, I'll bring Sharron back into this conversation. Sharron, don't you like having the federal government as your neighbor?
Well, honestly, in all disclosure, my husband worked for the federal government, for the Bureau of Land Management, so he managed these federal lands. But, as Erin said, enough is enough, and there is a hidden agenda behind making wilderness and set aside public land. And we've seen that here in Nevada. Harry Reid made a ton of money setting aside federal lands and then selling it off to his friends or, trading portions of it for power lines so that his friend's land could be power line free. It really is. There's secret agendas hidden in these bills, and there are also ways to keep the public from enjoying them. You declare wilderness in Nevada, If you can't get there by a motorized vehicle, you're not going to take your horse in there. There's just no water. So all of a sudden they've made these lands off limits. So there are just all kinds of it's an extreme thing to make these lands off limits to the people.
Erin, you have it here, $360 million a year to buy land. In 2019, the price for pasture land in the Mount West averaged $634 an acre. Thus, in a single year, the federal government could purchase 567,000 acres.
A lot of land.
That's a lot of land. Soon everybody will be living on federal land, I guess.
Well, and the problem is you have these local communities like the one in which I grew up, and they have one school that has about, I think there is now 80 students K through 12th grade. So a really tiny community. And if you buy some of that land, those families are going to leave and they're not going to come back. They're not going to frequent the one grocery store in town, the one restaurant in town. They're not going to send their kids to school. Those lands are removed from the county and state tax rolls. And there's a massive impact on the local communities when federal lands take away individually owned private property.
Well, let's look for the silver lining behind this cloud. I guess they become ghost towns, and then they become a tourist attraction, right? I don't know. But Erin, Hawley, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they can keep track of what you do and what you write and the things you think about.
Absolutely. You can find us at the Independent Women Forum as a website, iwf.org. We'd love to have you come and see some of the work that we are doing.
All right. I love the ladies at the Independent Women's Forum. I say that all the time. Erin, Hawley, thank you for joining us. Take care and God bless.
And thank you. God bless.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. You know, this week is the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. The Second World War was ended by the use of nuclear weapons that I believe actually saved lives. On the other side, we're going to have Dr. Peter Vincent Pry join us to talk about it. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $1.99 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And once again, for rebroadcast of our show, be it our radio show or our TV version, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. We also have a lot of other terrific articles and information. And with that, Sharon, our next guest is with us. And as you did with the previous guest and all our previous guests, please make them feel welcome.
Well, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, who is Executive Director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and Director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum, both congressional advisory boards, and served on the Congressional EMP Commission, the Congressional Strategic Posture Commission, the House Armed Services Committee, and the CIA. He is author of Blackout Wars and EMP Manhattan Project. All are available from createspace.com and amazon.com. Dr. Pry, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Well, you've written an article, Beyond Hiroshima. Why would we want to even discuss Hiroshima? I guess that's the idea right now. Is most of that happened before we were all born. So, you know, we're going back into history here. What's so big about August 6th and Hiroshima?
Well, we have no alternative but to talk about it, because the left every year since 1946 has talked about it on August 6th, August 9th, which is the anniversary of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And this is going to be a particularly important year because it's now the 75th anniversary, 75 years since Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed. And every year, the left, academics, the liberal mainstream media beats up on America and says it was the wrong thing to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That proves that the American people, or at least our leaders, had bad judgment or even evil, and that the atomic bombings were unnecessary, and that we should pay a penance for Hiroshima and Nagasaki by leading the world to new global nuclear disarmament by banning the bomb, and we should lead the way by giving up our own nuclear weapons. And I expect it's going to be even worse this year because the rioting and chaos on our streets that is coming from the terrorist movements and the hard left, the Marxist groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter, that are trying to convince the American people that we as a society are evil, and that even the average American who supports and is patriotic and believes in America, that we are fundamentally evil and racist. And they are not going to miss the opportunity, I'm sure, to celebrate the 75th anniversary of these events by these lies about. And every year, people like me, people who have historical backgrounds or military historical backgrounds and have been professional strategic analysts and strategic thinkers, make the counter arguments about why Hiroshima and Nagasaki were necessary. And but of course, it's not about facts and logic. The other side has an almost religious conviction that they're right, that America is fundamentally evil and wrong, and they don't want to listen. It's all about propaganda. But we have to hold the line anyway. And so my article, I went back to the, one of the first books that started, the criticism of America's decision to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A relatively moderate book compared to what's coming out of academia and the left today, but it was John Hershey's classic book Hiroshima. And in my Beyond Hiroshima article, I started off with a quote from John Hershey. Even people who haven't read that book, they have a iconic view that the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, that the atomic bomb means, the death of children and women in horrific ways. Terrible burns, walking like zombies, suffering from radiation, those who are alive, okay? So that as the left would put it, the survivors would envy the dead, all right? And that's the famous Hershey quote that everybody focuses on. But Hershey was actually a little more balanced in his book. And one of the quotes that they never hear from is the Hershey quote book, by the way, is taking quotes from actual survivors of Hiroshima, all right? And there was this professor, a Japanese professor who taught at Hiroshima University of Science, Literature and Science, and his son, a college student. And the quote he's got in there demonstrates how even the most liberal and enlightened and intellectual components of Japanese society, the people you would think would be meekest and mild, were fanatically committed to the emperor. And these two were trapped in a house in Hiroshima. The second floor had collapsed on them. They were pinned in the house. The house had caught on fire, and it was burning down around them. And their last thought, the son appealed to the father and said, before we die, let us consecrate ourselves to the emperor. And the father, a college professor of literature, bonsai, 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 and basically they managed to escape. They managed to survive that, and said it. And later on, when he's interviewed, said that he was so happy to be Japanese because he never realized how sweet it would be to sacrifice his life for the emperor. Now, these are the attitudes, and we had some empirical data. President Truman had some empirical data about what it would cost to invade the Japanese home islands from the battles in Hiroshima, Okinawa, and Iwo Jima that happened in 1945, months before the atomic bombings. These are two tiny islands, south of Japan, just before that would be the jump-off points for invading the Japanese home islands, which are, thousands of times more populous and thousands of times bigger. These two tiny islands, Iwo Jima and Okinawa, it cost us 88,000 casualties to take those two small islands. And it cost the Japanese 200,000, over 200,000 dead, all right? Military and civilian. When the battles were done, they were so fanatically committed that there were almost no Japanese left on Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Almost no one surrendered. They fought to the death, including the civilians, and tens of thousands, including civilians, died by their own hand rather than surrender. And that's what our people would have faced if we sent them into the invasion of the Japanese home islands. And as a consequence, of using the bombs, which killed maybe about 150,000 people collectively between Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we probably saved 1 million U.S. casualties and millions of Japanese lives. Millions of Japanese would have died had we had to go forward with the invasion. So for both sides, it was actually, as horrific as atomic bombing is, it was actually a humane decision. And the other thing about the left demonizing the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings is, they make it sound like a conventional war, non-nuclear war, is somehow more humane. One of the things people never talk about is the March 1945 incendiary bombing of Tokyo, that was done with non-nuclear incendiary bombs that were designed to create an enormous firestorm in Tokyo, which actually killed more people than Hiroshima and Nagasaki in ways that were just as horrific. So that was what the article is about, to basically defend the American decision at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and beyond that, to defend nuclear deterrence too, because there's a number of other dates that don't get talked about. They only don't want to talk about. And if I'm hogging too much time here, feel free to stop me. but I'm going to keep going on unless you do. All right.
I'll just send you in a different direction. Is all we intend for you to hog the time. There's nothing about our questions that are necessary for time. I feel like a survivor after hearing what you've written and reading what you've written, because my father was in the war in the Pacific, and he would have been one of those that went on to invade the Japanese homeland if the bombs hadn't been dropped. Maybe I wouldn't be here. So I feel like a survivor just because he was in that war in the Pacific. The other thing is I have a sister-in-law whose mother was a survivor of Nagasaki. She was 13 years old when the bomb was dropped, and she survived, married a U.S. Navyman, moved to the United States, had 2 children, and died of cancer related to that bombing about 9 years ago. So she lived a long and full life. So they kept track of those survivors. They made sure that they followed their families, and and my sister-in-law, she gets regular checkups because of they want to know what are the after effects of the bombings. And so, as you said, there is a humanitarian leg of all of this, and we rarely hear about that. So I want to go on into your article just a bit further because you talk about, and I'm going to read this statement. In contrast, totalitarian states love nuclear weapons, parading their missiles in public squares because they are the highest technological embodiment of might makes right and the most effective means of erasing democracies. You know, I think through this whole COVID-19 and the protests in the streets, we're all feeling a little bit wary of what's coming next, and we feel like there's a totalitarian push within our own society. So talk about that. What are we in for?
Yeah. Before I get expanding upon that statement, that was my explanation as to why the United States forgot the lessons of both World War II and the Cold War, and why we have neglected our nuclear deterrent. It just seems, if you have to ask the average American, you know, if I could backtrack a little bit, because before that I talk about the other side of nuclear weapons, which is nuclear deterrence. You know, since the invention of nuclear weapons, we haven't had another world war, and there have been numerous crises, like the 1948 Berlin blockade, the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, you know, invasion of Czechoslovakia, you know, the Korean War, the collapse of the Warsaw Pact, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and then the collapse of the Soviet Union. You know, in the past, before the invention of nuclear weapons, when you had 2 superpowers confronting each other, any one of those incidents would have resulted in a world war, but they didn't. Nuclear weapons managed to enable the United States to prevail peacefully. And in fact, it's unprecedented in history that a powerful nation like the Soviet Union, the most powerful tyranny and militarily and in every other respect that ever existed, faced off against the United States and the free world, that it went down basically without a shot being fired. And that was because of the effectiveness of nuclear deterrence. We won World War II with nuclear weapons, and we won the Cold War peacefully with nuclear weapons. And yet in the aftermath of the Cold War, here we are today. Only President Trump is the first president to try to modernize our nuclear weapons. You know, our nuclear weapons are almost obsolete. They're 30 or 40 years old. We've allowed Russia to steal a technological march on us and to get advantages that would have been unthinkable in the Cold War. They have 10 times more tactical nuclear weapons. They've got a 3-to-1 advantage in nuclear weapons overall. You know, they have new kinds of nuclear weapons based on new technologies that have no counterparts in the United States. And we may never be able to catch up with them. And so the question, what I was trying to answer is that, how is it? How could this happen? Why have we been unwilling to maintain our nuclear deterrent when it's obviously been so crucial to our security? And I believe that the most fundamental answer is the one I had in that sentence, or actually the one before that, which is that, you know, nuclear weapons are fundamentally antithetical to democracies whose legitimacy is derived from the people. Weapons of mass destruction that threaten the existence of the people are fundamentally repugnant to democracies, and they always will be. And they're also repugnant to Judeo-Christian civilization. The fundamental tenets that don't believe in mass extermination of people, that believe in preserving life and proportionality in terms of the use of force when you have to go to war. We have a whole tradition of just war theory that goes back to St. Thomas Aquinas that argues against the concept of mass destruction. And
I'm going to interrupt you, Dr. Pry, right here, because I know that Rick's going to take this up on the other side, and we need to do a little business. I guess we need to take a break, let our sponsors be known. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Sharron Angle here with my co-host Rick Trader, and we've been talking with Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, the Executive Director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and Director of U.S. and Nuclear Strategies Forum. He has been talking to us about an article he wrote, Beyond Hiroshima, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And as I love to do, give a shout out to folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and also seen on the UN television network in San Francisco, San Rafael, San Jose, Santa Rosa, Redding, Chico, Fort Bragg, and Napa Valley. Our guest this segment is Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. He's the Executive Director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and the Director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. Dr. Pry, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time. Dr. Pry, you've written a couple articles, Beyond Hiroshima, and also 75 Years of Nuclear Terror. And I want to read an article, one of the lines that you have in here. Many scholars credit nuclear weapons with breaking the cycle of increasingly destructive wars that plagued Europe during every century, concluding with the First and Second World War. Dr. Pry, I think that a lot of people don't know history, and those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And for those that don't know history, should read the history of the great wars that have plagued Europe. Yet for the last 75 years, Europe has been at peace. Can you directly relate that to using the nuclear bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima?
Well, I think it can directly be related to that and to nuclear deterrence. The fact that the United States, understanding during the Cold War, we were wise enough and smart enough, and I think we were wise enough and smart enough because it was the Great Generation that basically set those Cold War policies. These are men who had seen World War II. Most of them were veterans who were setting this policy, and they knew the costs of war, and they knew and they had experienced and witnessed what had happened when the Western democracies had failed to be prepared militarily to deter someone like Adolf Hitler and Imperial Japan, and we allowed ourselves to become militarily vulnerable. And so they didn't want that happening with nuclear weapons. And throughout the Cold War, it was our policy, Democrats and Republicans alike, from Harry Truman all the way to Ronald Reagan, that we were not going to let the Soviet Union get any advantage over us in numbers or technological quality or quantity. And that, I think, was a major contributing factor, probably the most important factor, to preventing World War III. Because as I said before, it was unprecedented in history that the Soviet Union went down the drain and that the powerful Warsaw Pact never overran Europe, that they went out of existence instead of resorting to the verdict of war, which in the past is what has always happened. Now, I part company with most of my mainstream fellow conservatives, however, on the idea that nuclear deterrence is something we should be able to bank our grandchildren's lives on and rely upon it far into the future. When I was at the CIA, I had a front row seat, to the Cold War and to the nuclear balance. In fact, my job was to analyze Soviet nuclear weapons and strategy and their threat perceptions and all the rest. And we had many times when nuclear deterrence almost failed, and we almost did go to a nuclear war, many more times than the public even knows. And I've written a book about that.
We're coming up on a hard break, but I want to give you 2 minutes when you say that this idea of mutual destruction will not work, and talk for a couple of minutes about what you think we need to be doing moving forward to keep ourselves safe.
I think we need to replace mutual assured destruction, or MAD, with a new policy called Strategic Assured National Existence, or SANE. Ronald Reagan didn't call it that, but that's what he had in mind when he had the Strategic Defense Initiative program. Reagan had the wisdom to see, too. He didn't believe in mutual assured destruction. He thought someday this was going to fail and the world is going to go up in smoke. That's why, and arms control treaties are not going to work. You can't ban the bomb. The Russians and Chinese and North Koreans, they'll always cheat. But what you can do, if you look at military history, you can make a weapon system obsolete by coming up with a better weapon system. And that was the idea of the Strategic Defense Initiative, to come up with defensive space-based systems that would be a shield for the United States, like Brilliant Pebbles, that would be able to take out even large-scale attacks with using space-based anti-missile systems. And this would work a revolution in military affairs. It would be a revolutionary change, because right now, the most advanced military technology in the world, which is nuclear missiles, it favors the aggressor. It favors the attacker. It favors first strike policies. Just the way the Blitzkrieg strategy that the Nazis came up with favored the aggressor, favored the guy who struck first. But if you have better defensive military technologies like space-based missile defenses that can render nuclear missiles obsolete, it changes the whole game to a defensive game, and it would make the world much safer. And we might actually get back to appreciating peace the way peace used to be before the invention of nuclear weapons. What we call peace today is really just existence under the sword of Damocles. Generations haven't known what real peace is. The kind of peace we used to have back in the 1880s, before somebody could hit us with an intercontinental ballistic missile.
And there's some bad actors out there who would, I think, want to do that. Iran, North Korea, and they're developing the capabilities to do exactly that. They might want to sacrifice themselves and their populations to hit the great Satan of the U.S. Dr. Pryor, you think I'm off base with that thought?
And they can do it in ways with EMP attacks, for example, so that they wouldn't have to experience retaliation. We might not even know who attacked us. And let me say one more thing, because it was an issue that was raised earlier about alluded to. Does it make us more imperiled by the revolutionary movements that are going on our streets, the domestic upset that's going on our streets? I'm very concerned about this. The left wants to talk about Hiroshima and Nagasaki because it's the 75th anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all right? But there's something else that another anniversary that has been forgotten in this debate. This is also the 80th anniversary of the fall of France to Nazi Germany in 1940, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the greatest French historians who did not survive World War II, he became a member of the French underground and was captured and killed by the Nazis, executed by the Nazis in 1944. But before he died, he wrote a book called Strange Defeat. And it was his conviction. I'm talking about Marc Bloch, the great French historian who was a member of the French resistance and didn't survive World War II. His book, Strange Defeat, said, even more important than the Nazi tanks and planes and the technologies that they had and the military plans to conquer France, even more important than that, the most decisive factor was the death of patriotism in France and the loss of confidence of the French people in the ideals of France. And he was right. In William Manchester's Majestic.
Dr. Pryor, I'm sorry to do this, but we are coming up against a hard break. But, I have the same fears. And when I look at what's going on, the anarchy in the street reminds me of what happened in the French Revolution. The French Revolution was a counterculture revolution. And I think that had a lot to do. It could possibly have a lot to do with the end of patriotism in France. We're seeing the end of patriotism here in the United States. But Dr. Peter Vincent Pride, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Will you please tell our audience how they could follow your work?
My books, my most recent book is Will America Be Protected? Available from Amazon.com. And before that, I also published another book earlier this year called The Power and the Light, the Congressional EMP Commission's War to Save America. All my books are available through Amazon.com.
Dr. Peter Vincent Pride, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you so much for having me to discuss these issues that are critical to the survival of America.
I agree. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be back with more right after this break.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Well, Sharron, that just about wraps it up for today's show. And as always, I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host. But Sharron, tell our audience how they could keep track of what you're up to when you're not here on Conservative Commandos.
Very simply, SharronEngel.com, SharronEngel.com. And I want to thank our guests, Rick. I want to thank Dave Workman. First of all, he's with Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. And he wrote an article, or at least is heading a movement. I guess that's more to be the point. Don't feed the gun prohibitionists. We don't want to. He talks about several businesses, over 200 now, who are saying don't bring your gun in our establishment. Our second guest, Erin Hawley, who is the senior legal fellow at Independent Women's Law Center. She wrote an article, "There are no exceptions to the First Amendment, even in a pandemic." Got to me personally because of the Nevada case that her article is based on, and she gave me some hope, and I'm glad for that we may yet have another chance at the Supreme Court, even though they denied us this last time. And our final guest was Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. He is the Executive Director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and Director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. Nuclear Strategy Forum. He wrote 2 articles, Beyond Hiroshima and 75 years of nuclear terror. Really interesting how history can play a part even today, and with what's going on with this pandemic and the protests in the street.
All right. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run and we got to go. Take care. God bless. And we're going to see it tomorrow on TV and on radio.